just taking advantage of your network, your peers' network, their peers' network,
Right.
right? And
Right.
and and soon you're just gonna tie back around, and everyone's gonna know each other, right? Because that's usually the
Right.
world is a small place, right?
Right.
So you're currently a student right now, and so how did you manage starting starting Bridged as well as your school studies? How did you balance that out?
Um, I mean, I'm an IB student, so I think the whole co-curricular aspect of everything is very well enforced in the curriculum. But personally, actually, since I mean, very early on, sort of drifting off topic, but very early on, my father had told me how, often more than academics, co-curricular activities matter a lot more in, being recognized when it comes to college or when it comes to the real world. Because, on the street, nobody's going to ask you what your marks were, but someone will probably, recognize you if you do something big. So, starting from grade six, I, you know, put myself in so many co-curricular activities and non-profits, internships. And at the time, I didn't even think about how they look on my application. I just, spontaneously applied. But I think that became a pattern for me where I would balance, these non-profits and my academics at a point where academics were not that difficult. And I've seen myself grow academically due to being a part of these nonprofits and internships, and now Bridged, even though I'm a grade 12 student. And it does get difficult. I do have to admit, meeting up with deadlines and then also managing, because I think as a person, I set my expectations a little too high with Bridged in the beginning, where you feature musicians every day and you're editing at night, and then you have deadlines. And for the longest time, I was the only person handling everything. So it does get difficult, but I think this would sound very cliche, but time management, I don't have a foolproof plan. I can't explain how I manage my time, but I think just to-do lists help you, not just setting the priorities and telling yourself that this is what I have to do first. It also helps. And then this is something that I'd heard, a long time ago, where if you pack your schedule, you won't really have free time, but your passion projects would kind of seem like, free time because you enjoy doing that. I doubt that anybody enjoys, being buried in homework or, academics. But as an individual, I have seen, so many people just love what they do as a passion project, even though it gets really difficult at times. You're doing it for yourself, or you're doing it, for something that you wanted to do for a very long time. So I think treating that as your free time is important. And then I think if your schedule is packed, you don't really have time to drift off to anything. You don't have time to get distracted. So it seems like very bad advice in retrospect, but I think just packing your schedule and leaving yourself no option but to just get down to work is probably the best advice I can do. And that will get easier once you get a rhythm. I think that's, I have to assure everyone when I say something like this that it will get easier, because if in moderation you do everything, it works out. Yeah.
Wow, that's so insightful. That just you make time, even though how much you pack your schedule, you'll make time for the things that you love, and
Yeah.
it reminds me of uh, something. It reminds me of something that, like, oh, okay, so you're full. Like, it reminds me of what my parents used to say to me. It's like, oh, okay, so you're full. You won't have ice cream, and like, oh, but I can make some space in there. I'm sure I
Right.
can make some space for the ice cream, right? And it's
Exactly.
kind of like that. Something you love, you'll always make space for it.
Yeah, and actually piggybacking off that example, it's not to say that you will keep yourself hungry for ice cream. You will eat. So if eating was academics, you will do what you're supposed to do as in your role as a student currently. But I think also getting that bowl of ice cream is very important. And I think that's actually also a struggle where teachers and parents would be very very skeptic and be very concerned actually, that you're engrossing yourself, or you're just spending so much time within this project, and how is things going to work out in terms of academics and in terms of college. But I think giving yourself that time to just sort out everything, because everything is difficult in the beginning. Even first grade was difficult. So um, I think allowing yourself that time is very important, because you would find that the day has like 25 hours sometimes. I joke about this, that, you will find space and you will find time to do everything that you put your mind to. That sounds very cliche, but yeah.
Yeah, surely, sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, right? And I also couldn't, I couldn't, yeah. So because same thing with this podcast, right? I have time to do everything else, to study for tests, to do my homework, but this is something I love, so I always leave a little room for it in the week just to,
Right. And I think the
just to build on
appreciation
it.
makes it so much more worth it. I think,
Yeah.
even with this podcast, I can just imagine the amount of appreciation you get. And with Bridged, I know the amount of appreciation that I get. And I think it just makes, struggling sometimes a lot more worth it. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I couldn't have said. I was actually thinking that in my head. It would make struggling. I filled the sentence in, and you filled it in. So, uh, uh, so give me 1 minute. So how did you, oh, sorry, what is your plan after this? Uh, uh, as you approach your next level studies, do you plan to leave Bridge with someone or just continue working on it?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good question. That's actually something that I've been thinking about lately since college applications are coming up. And I mean, I actually set this goal for myself that once we reach, 1.5 thousand followers on Instagram, it seems like a very small goal, but I think every media company or every organization can understand how difficult it is to get followers. And once you reach a certain milestone, it goes uphill from there. And I've seen that 1,000 or 1,500 is that milestone. So until then, I told myself that I would not build up a team. And in retrospect, it seems like a very big challenge, because in order to get followers, you're supposed to do something, and I had to do everything single-handedly. But as we're approaching that deadline, I am looking towards, getting a manager for the social media, and getting someone that looks for the artists, someone who gets in contact with the clients, who manages everything. So I think before I go to college, I would have a team in hand. And since Bridge is something that I've wanted to do, for a while now, even as I worked with nonprofits, I've always had this idea that, it's the theme of these nonprofits, or the theme of these organizations is close to what I want to do, but like this, like close but no cigar. It's close, but it just didn't, hit. So I started Bridge, for that reason. So I would never leave it, I think. But I don't think I would be this hands-on involved, especially since I want to go into the field of medicine. And with the app, if everything works out, like I mentioned, if everything works out and I'm able to execute that plan, I think that would be something that I would be more hands-on with, because I would not. I mean, I would be studying something that is in reference to that app and not bridged. So, long story short, I think I would stay in contact and I would still overlook everything. But the main management for Bridgeport, I would probably hand it over to someone else once I go to college. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, like because um, for an entrepreneur, your business or your startup is like your own baby, right? You want to leave it,
Yeah, absolutely.
you don't want to leave it in the wrong hands. Yeah, you just want to make
Right.
sure that it grows up into
Yeah, I feel like
a strong child.
right. Now that you mentioned that, I feel like I'm just delaying in the process of onboarding a team because I mean it's very rare to find someone that can handle everything the way that you would. So yeah, quite literally put, it is like a baby to every founder, and it is difficult to handle. So I'm already scared for that process, but I'm sure that I would find a team of very passionate individuals. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to take baby steps, right? Like you can,
Right. Yeah.
like if you're scared about it, just take a step back and then just,
Yeah.
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 So, as we conclude our interview, my last question is, what advice do you have for students about using their time, relationships, and opportunities to take advantage of their passions?
Um. Well, firstly, I think this is something that I've learned for myself. Do not jump into anything. Um, really, think it through. Think all of your, priorities through. If you know as an individual that you take aside 1 hour on your math homework, and you know that school is going to get more difficult as you go, keep time for that. Do not jump into something when you know that you're already packed. Otherwise, you will struggle. And I think this is something that we hear from our parents or our teachers a lot, that nothing is worth, risking your health over. And I have seen within myself and within a lot of my friends that have organizations that, um, to accommodate everything, we often at times risk our own health. And that's just something that I would not suggest, because if you risk your own health, that just leaves you less time to work on things, right? But at the same time, like we've spoken about, building a network, extremely important. Exploring the atmosphere that you're about to enter, through internships and through nonprofits is also very important. Just prepping yourself, um, and yeah, I think, like I mentioned, sorting your priorities, putting them in an order, would actually, allow our schedules to go a bit smooth sailing. And then, at the risk of sounding like a motivational speaker, I think it is true when people say that we can achieve anything that we put our minds to, with the right, mindset and plan and support. So I think building that, or building upon yourself before building a startup, is very important. And also ask for help. I think I've seen so many people not ask for help, and I don't understand why. Because the biggest, people need help all the time. That's why society exists. So I think asking for help, building a plan, building a community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so intriguing, that um, that advice, like I've asked advice from many people right now, and it's all just different, but it's similar but unique, like just being
Right.
able
Yeah.
to ask for help, um, just making yourself more humble, right? Because being more
Right.
genuine would really help, especially in the real, because other people want to see you for you and not for you for
Right.
someone who you say you are on social
Yeah.
media.
I think it's often difficult to realize, or ground yourself with the fact that you are not your organization. It's ironic. A lot of people have started calling me Bridge instead of Aarushi, just because I'm always packed with the organization. But I think no matter what, no matter which feature, no matter which opportunity you get, just I think remembering why you started would always keep you grounded. And I think it's always inspiring. As you were putting that question across, I was thinking about how inspiring it must be to you to meet up with so many entrepreneurs and to hear so many advices and ideas. So yeah, I think just remembering everything or remembering the reason you started would keep you grounded, which is difficult at times, I have to admit.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've seen some videos out there, like, oh, this big guy, this small guy, he becomes big, and then he forgets that, oh, he was a small
Yeah, who
guy
gets
before,
the
right?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
The world is
sometimes,
daunting, what can you say? Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes remembering, like you said, where you started will keep you grounded, but it'll also keep you pursuing your goals because
Yeah, and
just making that
passions.
why,
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely. Right.
yeah, just taking that why and say, hey, do I am I fulfilling that purpose or not, right? And what can I do
Right.
to make to just
This is
do that?
constant mental stress. Right.
Yeah, and that's all about being an entrepreneur. Right. So, would you do you have any last words for our audience? Anything that from this half an hour, 45-minute interview that you really want young people as yourself just to take home?
Um, do something. I think living in that apprehension. Or actually, this is some doubts that I've come across in the past. That a lot of people say that, hey, I want to start so and so nonprofit. I want to start so and so company. But there's so many companies and nonprofits out there that have a similar theme. And um, I mean, it makes sense to me. But at the same time, all of those organizations started somewhere, and you can only imagine how many people there are like you that live in that apprehension and live in that doubt that I will not do something just because there's so many people out there. And like I mentioned, ideas come as you go. Ideas come as you see things. So just put yourself out there. Obviously, like I mentioned, after you get everything in order, if you want to do something, put yourself out there. If someone is doing something and it's interesting to you, join them. Because you know, especially if I'm talking to teams, so much of what the world has you cannot see within school, no matter how much our teachers try, no matter how many webinars we have in school, how many visits we have. Um, Only when you put yourself out there and when you make yourself vulnerable and when you hear your no's and hear your yeses, will you actually be prepared for the real world. And I think it's never too early or too late to start. Um, I started as a senior in high school, which is, like a lot of people say, the worst thing you can do because you're so packed up with things. But I think you'd find a way. So if you want to do something and if it's been on your mind, just go for it. Everything will pan out. Yeah.
Well, I really couldn't have said it better myself. Just
Yeah.
um, like you said, putting yourself out there and just doing something and uh, to refine what you said doing something, but also make sure it's what you love, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't stick
Right.
around doing that.
Yeah. Don't do something you don't like.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And sometimes
Um,
it's not a choice, but sometimes, like for young students, it definitely is. You have that
yeah.
safety and security of your home to do whatever you want.
Yeah. And especially since saying that made me think of something else that um even our academic boards and curriculums have gotten customizable over the years, especially since I'm in the IB and we're able to choose our subjects. And I chose my subjects in a way that it would support what I'm doing, not with Bridge, but what I want to do in college, because my school didn't offer subjects that I could put hand in hand with Bridge. But I think for many ideas, just you know, learning a lot more about what you want to do, because I think nobody can know everything about a subject. You learn something new every day, and to put all your resources, to your advantage, to learn more about what you want to do, is always, important. Yeah.
Yeah, surely. Just uh, like you said, that the courses are becoming more customizable. You're able to choose what you want to
Yeah.
pursue, right? So use that to your fullest advantage, right? And
Right.
and that's basically it. So you gave us so much. You just gave us a lot of insight into opportunities, networking, being able to put yourself out there without or in an uncomfortable situation, right? Because that's what's going to make you grow as an entrepreneur. But not only that, it's going to make you grow as a person, right? And
Right.
with that,
Absolutely.
thank you, Arushi, for
Thank
giving
you so
us your
much.
time here, for just giving us insight. Uh,
Thank you for having
your
me. Thank you.
Yeah, Bridged is a really innovative idea. Uh, connecting talent scouts with artists. Uh, just making the artists' dreams come true, and I absolutely love that. And cheers to your successes, really. And
Thank you
with
so much.
that, have a wonderful night, you all.